What's going on, guys? My name is Corey Carlson, or Carlson Visuals, and in today's video I'm going to be teaching you how to remove practically any object from your image in Photoshop. So we're just going to hop right into it. So for this example, I have a before and after right here just to show you what we are going to be accomplishing in this video. I have a coffee cup. That's the subject that I've chosen to remove from this image. It may, let's just say it's street photography and there's like a trash can or a car or something in the background of your image and it's distracting from your subject. This is a tool that you can use to remove things like that. So the way that I have approached this image and the way that you should approach every image is by compartmentalizing it into different layers. So for example, here I'm going to zoom in, and if you don't know how to zoom in easily like this, just hold Z on your keyboard and drag your mouse left and right. So I like to compartmentalize this into layers. So the coffee cup is the surface layer right here. And then beneath that, we have the table and we have the background. Now, the two things that we're trying to avoid here in this first step are the laptop and the ground. So basically what that means is the table is the first subject that we're going to be working with. So what you want to do is come over here to the pen tool and zoom on in, and you're going to want to create an accurate mask around the area that you want to work with at first. Because when using this the clone stamp tool, you do happen to, because we're going to be using feathered edges, you may or may not bleed over into other surrounding areas in the image. So that is something that we do want to avoid. So masking around will, help you out with that. So I'm going to fast forward and you'll see once I finish masking around this area. Now, when you come to an area like this where the subject is actually, in front of where the mask that you're trying to accomplish is, you just kind of have to do your best and use your best judgment to try to accurately, represent the curve that is happening there. So I think this is decently accurate in regards to what we're trying to accomplish here. So finishing up the mask, you're going to right click inside the mask, click Make Selection, and make sure this is selected on, for this case it's 0 pixels, but if you do need to feather it at all, you could always do 1, 2, 3 pixels, and that's typically a good range that I like to stay in. So click OK right here. Now you're going to come over and grab the clone stamp tool. Make sure you're not selected on pattern stamp tool, and select on clone stamp. And once you're there, if you're getting this X image right here and you can't select anything, make sure to right click on your layer and click rasterize. Now you have the ability to, use the clone stamp tool. So one thing that I want to do right off the jump, which I recommend depending on your image, so you have to do your due diligence and understand which one you need to use. So whether or not you're going to use a soft round or hard round, I always select on the soft round and then create the size to something a little bit larger in this case. So we're actually going to go up to about 150 pixels and make sure that the hardness is set to 0. So in order to use this tool, you're going to click Alt and select in an area that you're trying to duplicate. Because basically what the clone stamp tool does is when you click Alt and select an area, it's grabbing these pixels and it's duplicating it whenever you paint. So you can just paint around and it'll select those pixels. So you're going to hold Alt and select. And then as you can see, as I go forward, it kind of matches the area. It's just very seamless how it works. As you can see, it already covered that area. So I'm going to take my time and make sure I stay with the grain in this image. So if there's any texture on a wall or anything like that in the image that you're using, try your best to stay within the range of that and go with the grain. So I'm going to fast forward it here once I get through quite a bit of this, and I will see you on the other side. We're about to finish it up here, and as you can see, when you get close to the edges of the mask, it actually allows us to, avoid going over and just create, the illusion that the table is actually ending there. As you can see, there are some feathered spots, but when you're zoomed out, there's things that you might not be able to see. But in situations like this, you can always just play with it over time and perfect the image. Now, in this case, just for tutorial purposes, I'm going to kind of go through it relatively quickly and just finish up these last couple spots. Let me just get this going right here. And let me... Now, looking back at this, I did cover all of the surface area, but as you can tell, there is darker parts of the wood right here, which kind of abruptly comes to a stop here. So what I'm going to do is increase my my size of my tool here and click Alt and select on that area, and then just line it up and continue to click and drag going forward. And I do want to cover all of the area that I previously have missed, just to make sure that we are on the right track. So we're just about there. Make sure I select a smaller area here. And then click Control D once you have finished. And if you zoom out, it looks pretty good, but I'm going to adjust that real fast to make sure I nail everything perfectly. So always, just never let it be the first try. Always go back, look at your thing from an outside perspective, and make sure that your viewers are going to be seeing the image that you want to, perceive. So I'm going to make sure everything is lined up here. Take my time a little bit. Just make sure everything comes out neat. So Control D, that's much better. So this line is a lot straighter. And there, the coffee cup is gone on that side. But I'm going to make sure the selection is still there, because now we just want to work on the outside edge of this. So rather than, deselecting it and, recreating the mask per se, we can just keep the mask here, go up to Select Inversed, or you can click Control-Shift-I, and that allows us to continually use the clone stamp tool. Let me bring this down a little bit. Allows us to use it on the outside of the table now instead. So other textures that you want to focus on. For this example, we have the lines between the tiles. We do want to select over top of those and continue these lines in the pattern that they normally would. And we can just remove other edges of it at a time. Just watching someone use this tool doesn't do its justice, especially if it's your first time. Once you use it, just doing a couple different brush strokes with it, you're going to understand how the tool reacts to the areas that you select. So you will find your own tedious ways of using it that will actually help you in the long run. Sometimes I like to scale down the brush a little bit, make sure I select in here and just make this line a bit straighter. So I'm going to fast forward here and show you once this line is done, and then we will hop into this other line right here. Okay, I am now back and I finished this one line right here. So we're going to hop into the next one. Now there's an area like this where we only have a small portion of this to play with in order to extend this to where it needs to go. So we do have to decrease our brush size. So, constantly just increase and decrease your brush size according to the area that you need to be selecting. So I'm just going to decrease the size here, and you have to keep in mind that it is a very feathered brush. So sometimes if I select right here per se, it may pick up a little bit on his face if you go in the opposite direction. So make sure you are accurately selecting the range that you need. Now to make it easier, since I've already brought this out a little bit, I can select inside this area again, extend the tile a little bit more. Let me increase the brush size. And it gives us now a larger area to select from. Let me increase the brush size and show you how that works. Select in here, and we can just continue the line in this path and just constantly redo this process over and over again. It's pretty much just a rinse and repeat kind of thing, where you just got to keep going over and over again until you get the desired look. So one more time, I'm going to come back once this area is finished. All right, now for the last time, I am back and I finished up this section here. Now you can really see the importance of compartmentalizing it and masking out certain areas. Up close, this does look a little bit blotchy, and I kind of did go pretty quickly just for tutorial purposes. But once you zoom out and you're seeing the grand scheme of things in the image, you literally cannot see the difference. So that is pretty much it. There's not much else to it. This is one of those tools that you do have to use over and over again. Learn to understand that it won't always be 100% perfect just because you are, altering an image in some way, but you can get it very, very close. So one thing that I always do recommend is staying as zoomed in as possible without, overly pixelating the image, and just checking everything out and then zooming out and making sure it looks good from the perspective that, your viewers are going to see it. So try not to overthink things too much and just always do take your time. So that is pretty much it for the video. I will have future videos coming. As of right now, I'm going to be trying to upload at least one time per week. But this is my first video back on YouTube in almost 2 years. So I'm going to be trying to pick up the consistency as much as possible. So that's pretty much it. If you do like the video, please leave a like down below, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.